Do 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 do. To the Red Beam Podcast, New Orleans edition. This is your host, Mr. Toad.
And I'm Dr. Frog.
We're talking about Akira Toriyama.
Do you remember where you were March 1st, 2024?
Probably just like walking around after work or something.
Yeah. Remember I logged into Final Fantasy 14 and there was a visual of people lined up in the city of Ul'dah, thousands and thousands of people, all kneeling in front of their personal campfires.
Wow.
In honor of Toriyama. Some wearing the famous Goku gi.
Ooh, interesting.
That he would wear to represent it. But yeah,
he touched a lot of people's lives. He touched a lot of people.
I haven't felt this way since Takahata, who worked with Miyazaki, died in, I think, April 2018. I remember the morning I rolled over 7 a.m. and it was a notification on my phone. I don't know how my phone knew, but looked at my phone, notification said, Takahata died. And I was like, what? Yeah, how do you wake up to that news? So how do you wake up to Toriyama?
Well, for people who don't know who Akira Toriyama is, he is a manga artist. Manga. And one of the thing that made him the most famous is, of course, Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, story writer, artist, yeah.
He did all that stuff. I still think to this day, and I know there's going to probably be some people saying, no, man, it's not the best. But I honestly think Dragon Ball Z was one of the best animes ever made.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I say it is that it was one of those stories. I think the problem is the power scaling went out of control towards the end.
Well, after Frieza could blow up a planet with the tip of his finger.
After
the Namek saga, when you get to Cell and Buu and beyond, I think, they had to
I liked it because
represent power differently.
But what I did like about it was the character dynamics. I still will say this to the end of the day. Vegeta is an amazing character. And the reason I think he's amazing is that just imagine you have someone on your team and you're looking at him, you're like, oh, that's one of my team members. And your team member looks at you, he's like, yeah, so at some point in the future, I'm going to kill you.
Well,
imagine having your own team member would kill you on your own team.
I made the argument, and this was backed up when I had a conversation with Brian Drummond, who actually voice acted Vegeta.
There you go.
I was able to run this theory by him.
I met him, yeah.
Oh, you did?
I have met him.
I have met him as well.
It was at a convention.
It was at a convention in 2013. Anyway, the point of it is, he wasn't even a guest at the convention anyway. So I met him in a kind of separate, near the convention space. But the thing is, I really think Dragon Ball, Vegeta's story, I think drives it even more than Goku's. Goku is sort of this bland, in my opinion. Superman is kind of bland, doesn't have personality, has a lot of powers he can do. Goku's kind of this,
easygoing.
Well, was raised on Earth,
kind
of calm, generic dad figure, kind of, Vegeta is the one with the motivation and the internal struggle. He's the prince, right?
He's ultra aggressive, and
he's the same prince that has all these expectations of the world from Saiyan society to achieve on himself. He's the one that's going through the forced growth and needing to be successful and chasing Goku and this sort of thing. I think he brings the drama. Without Vegeta, I think there's less. It just seems like bland.
For a while, Piccolo was the bad guy, but then he kind of
especially Dragon Ball King.
Piccolo, King Piccolo. But here's the thing:
the tournament
after Z, right after Nappa.
So first Raditz visited and said, "Hey, I'm your brother, right?
Yep,
I'm here to check on you, right?" So that whole thing.
By the way, this is our spoiler.
If you haven't seen Dragon Ball, come on, it's like 92 to 97 or something. Come on,
it was 1984 to 95 for Dragon Ball.
Binge watch it on Crunchyroll if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, you're going to have to definitely deal with a lot of screaming. But
they actually changed voice acting laws because of it. They would get paid per word rather than a unique sound. Every scream in Dragon Ball, I was told by the voice actors, was a unique scream. They didn't recycle screaming.
Wow.
So what would happen, and I might be wrong about this, but if my memory serves correctly, people like Brian Drummond would get a lot of tea, go into the studio, scream for a week, destroy their voice for 4 or 5 days, drinking lots of tea and trying to water and tea.
You got to rehydrate those.
Scream a whole bunch, and then they would receive like a $15 or $30 check in the mail.
Oh, wow.
Because they only said 2 words or something. But they screamed a lot, and they made a lot of grunts and noises. So that was a way of sort of saving on production cost. Wow. Now there's actually laws because
prevents that from happening.
Yeah, because of Dragon Ball. But it's because of Dragon Ball. Now you get paid per noise you make, things that you create with your voice. I'm sure that AI, there's an argument that AI in some ways stealing voices and using them to create them on their own without the individual is going to be another hot topic of our day. More so than what they were struggling with in the early 90s. Voice actors, I mean. But we're getting off topic with Toriyama. I think he didn't just do Dragon Ball. He influenced so many other...
He did some games.
Animators. He did some games, yeah. I know the
Chrono Trigger.
Reminds me of Chrono Trigger. And that had a bunch of masterminds who worked on it. The creator of Final Fantasy and a bunch of other legends worked on that game. And... I think it's the best JRPG of all time.
Okay.
I was just going to say RPG because some people don't like the J in JRPG, saying the Japanese RPG is somehow different or to be held to a different standard. But that's
a role-playing game.
It's one of Yoshida's comments on being classified as, well, this is a JRPG, not an RPG. But it's an RPG. And a JRPG.
And there, of course, is
Dragon Quest. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows the iconic slime. I only played Dragon Quest 4, 8, and then 11 came out recently.
Did you like it?
Yeah, but it was also... I was familiar with the concept. I couldn't imagine what playing the first Dragon Quest when it first came out was like, but it was certainly inspirational, and he did a lot of other things, but Chrono Trigger stands out to my mind. Dragon Ball Z, of course. He worked on some movies, I think a One Piece movie and some other things. There's that early work, the Doctor work that he did in the comic. I can't remember not Dr. Stone, it was Dr. I can't remember. There's a video game actually coming out in April 2024 called, was it Sandland, that's it.
I think they're talking about doing another live action of Dragon Ball.
Well, I know but Sandland is really important.
Sandland.
They're making the original series came out, I think, in the mid 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2015 or so. I can't remember. But they're turning it into a video game.
Oh,
and the main character is a sort of small red, kind of reminds me of the original Dragon Ball Goku, smaller kind of character. I haven't seen it. I'm not familiar with the manga, but
one thing I do like about Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball is this whole thing about capsules. That Capsule Corp.
Time capsules.
Well, it's like this little pill. You press the button and you throw it on the ground, and it's like this giant RV or something.
Imagine if senzu beans were... how that would change the medical field. If we could have a senzu bean and... A senzu bean and
like
heal, recover our stamina and everything. It'd be amazing. But yeah, capsules were great. It was a very great way of thinking of the future, right?
But the thing that got me with the capsule is this idea that you can transport things, something very large, and transform into something very small, and you can put in your pocket, and it'd be good.
Wow!
And no wonder Bulma became so wealthy in her family.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna.
It was a great character.
So we're gonna list some of the creations of Akira Toriyama.
Sure.
He wrote this. His first comic was Dr. Slump from 1980 to 1984.
Dr. Something with it.
Dragon Ball was from 1984 to 1990.
By the way, I want to jump in here. That was the first thing I remember seeing in the 80s. It was on a 9-inch circular television in black and white. I had a radio dial that I had to turn, and we could only get 4 channels. And, we could get, like, the major ones. But then you could switch between a red beam and a green beam. The green one, I think, had longer reception.
Okay.
But we got one international channel in black and white, and it was grainy to watch. but I watched the original Dragon Ball as it aired in the 80s, and it was in Japanese with no subtitles.
And then, of course, you had Dragon Ball Z from 1989
to
1996.
Yeah, and the it was so nice to be able to listen to that in English as it aired in Toonami and all that. And then, of course, it reran for years.
He also did something called Pink from 1982.
Oh, what's it called, Hank?
It's called Pink.
Oh, Pink.
It's called Pink. It's a Japanese one-shot manga written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama. Right. It was published in 1982.
Oh,
yeah. It was featured in the Fresh Jump magazine. Of course, you had Go-Go Ackman. It's another type of story about a humorous series about a demon child named Ackman and who harvests his soul.
Wait. Did you say Shonen Jump?
I didn't see that one.
Well, for Pink.
Oh, Pink? Okay, they've been showing it. Yeah,
Fresh Jump, I'm sorry.
Fresh Jump magazine.
Interesting.
And then, of course, you had this one called Cowie, which is also a chapter collected on the story follows the child monster Pifu, Jusa, and Apron. I'm probably I'm butchering the name pretty badly here.
Yeah.
But overall, he had different series.
Was in 2020, not in 2015. I'm sorry about that.
It was 2000.
Or 2000? Oh, yeah, it's earlier. It's not in 2020. Yeah. So, yeah, it was way
And then Jocko, the Galactic Patrolman.
Okay.
That was also pretty big for 2013. And then it kind of seems like he went back to...
he also did GT.
Yep.
I believe. He didn't just do Dragon Ball Z. He did GT afterwards. I wasn't a big fan of GT, but...
I think people were upset with GT because it wasn't...
That's when they went to Beerus and Gods and...
I don't like
Super Saiyan 4, I believe. I think 3 was still in DBZ, but 4, Super Saiyan, and God mode was GT. Anyway.
I like the idea that Akira Toriyama was exploring with Super Saiyans, because they had Super Saiyan 4, which was
the red
eighth form at the same time as being in his own body. So it was like a full control of their form, which I felt like Super Saiyan was cool, but I think Super Saiyan 3, the problem is...
the hair was too big.
It was too extreme. It was too out of control. It was kind of like
the fights were just blips of flashes. Yeah. And then you'd have Yamcha or someone, say, whoa, we can't even see them. And, I felt like they were just saving on animation costs at that point.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we can't...
Your imagination of what the fight's happening is even greater.
But what I do like about Super Saiyan 4 is it kind of brings us back to basics. And the basics is... he's an alien being. He's a Saiyan. Yes. He's a monkey.
Like a Sailor Moon.
Exactly. without the uniform.
He doesn't have the skirt.
And there's no Tuxedo Man.
There's no Darien.
There's no,
I meant voice actor for Darien, too. And one for Sailor Moon.
Cool.
There are 3 English VAs for that.
But overall, I think we just want to say... thank you, Akira Toriyama, for all the work that you've done.
It's so much.
We're sorry to see you leave this world at age 68.
Everyone keeps saying, we're going to live to 89 and 90-something.
You never know. You really don't know.
Most people in my family don't make it past 60. Yeah. You
gotta...
It's tough.
If you have something that you really want to do... waiting around and then trying to do it later on may not be a guarantee.
I think, this reminds me of the Blade Runner quote: "The candle that burns twice as bright burns twice as fast."
Yeah,
and that's. But I remember Toriyama. I remember first hearing the news they died. I think I will for the rest of my life, similar to Takahata. And
what gets me angry a little bit is I was not a fan of Super. I'm still not a fan of Super, and the Gods of War.
I like how even after his death, you're like, man, I want to write this fan letter to him, talking about how he can improve the lore of his creations, and you just gotta appreciate the man's life.
Yeah,
for a second.
I know.
He's a man first, and people are gonna send him questions about how the spaceships work.
But I will say this:
how does your capsule work? It didn't work like that last time.
I think his earlier iteration was the best. Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball had the fun. It did have
fun, playful.
The dragons.
But then Z was where it got serious.
Not just the Shinryu dragon, but the first one actually had dragons walking around in the forest that were threatening the Goku.
Yeah.
The original Dragon Ball was a threatening place.
One of the things I would also say is that, at least with GT, it was kind of like you had a bunch of people being like, hey, can we get back to Dragon Ball? I feel like he had to scale it back a little bit. I think he wanted to do more adventures.
Again, after the Namek saga, when Frieza can blow up a planet with their fingertip with that death ball, it's like, at that point, you're already cutting worlds in half. You can't pretend like you're 3 times stronger or more threatening. At this point, you can just blow up planets with your mind. Like, you're fine. The
whole finger pointing and blowing things up. But, that kind of was...
But once you can do it for a whole world, it's over. Because now that, the worlds are like marbles or something, you just blow up a bunch of planets.
But you know how dark and macabre that makes it seem then? Like, Dragon Ball, at that point...
All they could do was do gods fighting in space. Yeah. All they had left was gods fighting in space. And time travel.
I feel like they got to a certain point where you can't go any further. You kind of reach the limit.
And then actually GT was kind of a step back in that direction, supposedly, where, you met Pan, I believe, the child.
The daughter.
And then, it went back into the characters.
It went back to character development, I think. It kind of went back to this whole idea.
Filler,
but then they were like, hey, we still want the cool fights, so we still want to do these transformations. Yeah. And, of course, if you saw the last episode of GT, it was very interesting in the sense that... he fights Shenron. That was his ultimate enemy at the end. The dragon. The dragon that helped everybody at the end. It became evil and corrupted, and it turned into a monster. And he had to fight this thing. And I think it goes to show you that there is no free lunch. Because at a certain point, you were kind of like...
I like how you turn it into libertarian principles.
I know. It's like Akira Toriyama. Yeah, he's not just a manga artist. He's also a
Bitcoin. This is why Bitcoin's going to go through the roof.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, scarcity. Hey.
Because Shenron, we used the wish on Shenron incorrectly.
You see, here's the problem. The problem is that this is the get out jail free card. But the problem is, if you keep using a get out jail free card, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Eventually it's going to be like, hey, we keep using this thing, and now it's like
run on for a long time.
Exactly.
Go to Shinryu. Shinryu's gonna
Shenron.
Sorry, Shinryu's from Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Shenron. Yes.
But what I do like about it is it's kind of a dark, gritty world where
Shinryu is a dragon, though.
Yeah.
14. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But the Saiyans would go to these different planets.
What you saying?
Kill everybody on the planet. I'm talking about this.
No, it's a joke. What you saying?
Oh, what you saying?
No, they're Saiyans.
Oh, they're saying.
So I said, what you saying?
Actually, believe it or not, all their names are based on vegetables.
What if there's a character called Wachu?
Wachu?
There's a Wachu saying.
I don't know.
What you saying?
I think the most dangerous saying is broccoli. Have you ever heard of broccoli?
Is that like Broly after he transforms?
Exactly.
He looks like a broccoli head.
He's kind of but it's
like green hair.
They name Saiyans after vegetables. That was kind of like a running joke kind of thing going in the background. Yeah, all of it had to deal with like names of vegetables. They had names of vegetables for the characters.
Vegito, like vegetable.
Vegito.
Is that vegetable?
And Goku, and different.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's kind of
okay, I had no idea.
I think I want the audience to check me on it. Of course, if it turns out it's wrong, you can tear me apart in the comment section.
Then you can go to the comment section.
That is right.
And comment.
Or comment me.
Comment.
I'll insert transition out of this episode.
I love the spirit bombs coming out of your sayings. You're saying,
hey, as long as I have those senzu beams, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But the one thing I was going to say before we wrap this episode,
we're going to knock some senzu beans into this conversation.
I do love this idea, the concept of the hyperbolic time chamber.
Oh,
I still think that is amazing.
Wasn't that how they finally got Super Saiyan 2?
They were able to get stronger because they had to fight Cell.
And Cell was Cell's the kind of villain, like a Bond villain that like has
like I could kill you right now,
but I'm gonna slowly leave the room and not watch your death. And it's like, okay, they're gonna escape.
It kind of reminds me of like James Bond with the laser. He's about to get cut in half, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna leave because I have to pet my cat next door."
He's perfect for like a video game monster that's like, you can challenge me whenever you like. I will wait while you grind.
He basically
enough levels.
He basically
and you're like, okay, thank you. Just stay there while I go train.
He creates like a fighting area in the animation where he's like the Cell games, and he's like, if whoever wins the game decides if the world ends or not.
To be fair, Cell was, that horrified me as a kid because he could suck the energy out of people, and he could consume them whole.
He was he's actually...
As he consumed all the friends around them, he got stronger.
He killed all those people in that village. He was just sucking people away.
And all the Z Fighters. He was just picking them off, becoming stronger and stronger.
It was
How are you going to stop that kind of monster? It was a great monster.
Yeah, and it was like a horror villain. It was like a horror show. It was like a...
I think he had some regeneration too. He wasn't like Boo. It wasn't.
He had cells like
that it could reform itself.
Piccolo. He had the ability of Piccolo where he could regeneration.
Yeah. But he didn't have the sort of like Majin Buu kind of thing.
No, because Majin Buu,
one little cell was left.
Like a chunk of hair. Yeah. That's all it would take to bring Buu back.
Yeah.
But for Cell, you have to destroy all his cells, and as long as all the cells are gone, then you can never come back. So that's
except in our memories.
Exactly.
Just like Toriyama.
And so overall, I think this episode is really dedicated to Akira Toriyama and all the hard work that he's done.
That's amazing. It's so influential.
I have to say,
to
it's definitely an inspiration if you definitely want to look at character development, if you want to see conflicts. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is a wonderful place to go. And Chrono Trigger.
If you haven't played it, one of the best stories. I only hesitated when talking about people saying that Final Fantasy XIV is the best narrative story in history. I paused because I immediately thought of Chrono Trigger competing with it, as well as most people would say Final Fantasy VII and some others around those times in terms of JRPG storylines. But yeah, Chrono Trigger is up there. Very emotional story. Every character has their own character arc in addition to a sort of save the world character arc or story arc. And if you like those kind of fun adventures, go into it. The music's fantastic, and Toriyama's art influence is amazing. Story's amazing. But check out all of his works.
Yep. All we can really say is we appreciate the work you've done, and wherever you are now, we hope you're doing well and your family. And we're going to continue enjoying your artwork. I'm going to continue enjoying Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and I'll pretend the other Dragon Balls don't exist.
Oh, yeah. You prefer Z that much.
I
prefer Z because of the pacing. It wasn't as bad when I went and rewatched it.
I'll tell you one thing.
I have memories of it being so slow when it was slowly coming out once a week or like every Monday through Thursday or something.
If you want to see how things drastically have changed, look at the history of Trunks and then look at Super.
So different, huh?
It's like worlds apart. It's like, oh yeah, here's Gohan. He lost his arm in a fight.
Yes.
And he's like fighting the androids, and they're like destroying the world, and it's like such a bleak image. And then you have something like Super, where you have these female Super Saiyans that are just like, they get back massages and they become Super Saiyan.
Let's be honest, though. Trunks Arrival. I remember seeing Trunks Arrival for the first time when it aired.
Yeah.
It was so cool seeing that and saying, who is this person? Wait, they can go Super Saiyan too? What's going on here?
I know. It was such a good mystery.
I got shivers as a kid watching that, thinking, oh my God.
I like it because what that really shows is that Akira Toriyama was really perfecting foreshadowing.
Yes.
And showing that...
Well, it showed a connectedness to the world.
Exactly, where you're like, wait a second, there's other Super Saiyans?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that was the catalyst that drove Vegeta to push his body so far.
Well, yeah,
where he can go Super Saiyan too.
But also the reason I got excited is I got shivers thinking about when he first warned about the androids, Dr. Gero, and it reminded me of the island of Dr. Gero.
Yep, the creatures. Yeah, the people turned into monsters.
There's another one that's an island of Dr. Monroe or something.
Island Dr. Monroe. Yeah. That's where he does a bunch of, he basically pretends with God, and he turns animals into humans.
Exactly,
and it's like
exactly. I really think there's a parallel between the storytelling.
What I will say, though, is that Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is the only anime I've ever seen where I can't say the only one, but it seems never to be a conflict where you have, like, pig people, You have raccoon people.
Everyone's
kind of like they're all hanging out. Like,
yeah.
I never saw any kind of like fighting.
The only sort of race supremacy I saw was Saiyans.
Yeah.
Thinking they're superior to, let's say, the Namekians.
Yeah.
And thinking they're superior to humans. They kind of, and that kind of hierarchical thinking was, the enemy.
Yeah.
That the universe was fighting against.
The only thing that I would have suggested during Z, if he was still here and I could make some suggestions, would be
that would be what happened if you could raise him from the dead. And on his first day back, you'd say, in episode 137, I noticed. Could
you have done this a little bit more?
Why do you think the senzu bean, if it fully healed, then why did it only half heal in this case?
You see, I kind of wish...
And then he's just like, are you kidding? Like, let me get some food.
Yeah, he's like, get out of here. I'm going to talk to my family.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
It reminds me of Galaxy Quest, if you've seen that.
No, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Galaxy Quest?
I have to see it then.
That's a must-watch, especially if you're a Trek fan.
Okay.
Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Maybe original series. Well, we've got to watch it because it makes fun of fandoms. It's a kind of love story.
That's cool.
About fandoms. In general, you don't have to be a Trek fan to appreciate it.
But overall, I would have just said, come on, Toriyama, can the humans be a little stronger? I wish Krillin was...
regular. You wanted Krillin.
I wanted Krillin to come back. I wanted him to really... Krillin's job is to get punched in the face and lay on the ground and bleed out. Like, that's his job on the show.
All right, so I got, I played DBZ Breakers as well as DBZ Kakarot, the video games, right? So I played some of the I've also played the Xenoverse games, whatever, the 1 and 2 of them. One of the best spells in the card game of DBZ Kakarot is called Destructo Disc.
Oh, yeah.
It's something
that's
Krillin
his ultimate, his ultimate move.
Slices things in half.
Yep.
And it's very effective. I use it in my... The CTG, the collectible trading game deck.
Oh, okay.
Very effective spell. So here's the thing, though. I think that the Z Fighters, the regular on-Earth Z Fighters, they're kind of there to be cheerleaders. They all have like one spell that they're really known for, right? Tien has the eye thing, the flash.
And then you have...
Yamcha's the only one, I think, without. He does have his stance, the monkey stance, or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. Stance that he has. Anyway, and then the little guy, Chaozu. What he has is hugging people and exploding.
Yeah, he commits suicide. His job is
Voltorb.
He's like,
he's
like, my job is to end my own life on the team.
He's
hopefully they wish me back. By
you're
the way,
excited because you caught a new Pokemon. It looks like a Pokeball, but you use a Pokeball to catch a Pokeball-looking Pokemon, and you realize its only spell is self-destruct. And you're like, how can this thing gain any experience if I'm not going to use a TM on it?
I do like Tien, though. The thing I do like about Tien is that when Cell was in his second stage, and he was like standing over him, he's like, and he kept holding him down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But that's all he could really do is hold him down. He couldn't really... You see, that's the part that I would have been scary. I was like, come on, man, can you make them go to the Hyperbolic Time Chamber and, like, be a little stronger or a little, like, they can give him a black eye or something, or...
Imagine what would happen to the Z Fighters if Blue showed up from Blue Gender.
No, they would kill
that
pretty fast.
That would be horrific. Oh, you think they'd blow up the bugs?
Oh yeah, they would execute them really fast.
You think it'd be like the Cybermen?
Yeah, they would wipe them out so quickly. I mean, because you have to think about their strength and their abilities and their.
What about the evolved ones that have shields?
See, we're gonna have to do. So what we're talking about is called Blue Gender, and we're going to have to do a whole...
another podcast.
A whole other podcast. That is a show that... It's one of those...
brutal.
Yeah, it's very brutal. I mean, I remember I was just like showing it to you and be like, so watch this one part, and you're watching it, and you're just like, oh, geez.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost like every episode, though.
No, this one was... I thought it was more hardcore.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. But overall...
For now, Toriyama is the...
But Akira Toriyama, he's the story of the show. But I will say this. I kind of wish the humans had a little more oomph. I kind of wish they did.
I think the regular humans... I know Saiyaman was supposed to be the sort of insert for the human champion / poser for wrestling or whatever. But I think you're right. I think if they wanted to power scale it, they should have made the aliens slightly stronger than humans. Not immediately like Raditz, as soon as he shows up, can like destroy any human on the planet. You've already power jumped. You've already jumped the shark, the very first enemy that shows up.
I mean, I think it was Nappa. He almost killed the entire team.
Raditz shows up.
Yeah, Raditz shows up.
It took Piccolo and Goku to.
Yeah. Well, Piccolo had to do the special beam cannon, killing Raditz and Goku. He blew it.
But here's the thing: if they made it so that you're strong, but maybe you're only twice as strong. If 5 people could give you a run for your money, then you still got these strong Saiyans that can dominate. But they're defeatable a little bit. But if you make them so they fly and they can blow up mountains right from the get-go, you already got a, in some ways, people think of it as an adventure show. Yeah. Dragon Ball, I would say, is adventure. Dragon Ball Z, I think, is more of a horror genre. Yeah,
that's like more fighting and
set up like a horror genre. Everyone is creeped out because of the powers in the universe that are unknown, and the Earth is this little peaceful planet that's very much under attack.
GT is more of an exploration. I feel like GT kind of goes back to Dragon Ball in the sense that we're on an adventure. But I think Z, like you're saying,
Z, I think is a horror.
It's a horror show. It really is.
I'm a big horror genre fan, and I think Dragon Ball Z is a horror. I mean, I would love to get the thoughts of some voice actors or writers, or if I just throw out that idea.
Yeah, but this idea that you have these psychopaths in outer space and they keep coming back here. Yeah, exactly. It's like this is a horror film. Like this is really like horrifying monsters are coming to the Earth because they're like, hey, there's strong fighters here. So it's like, and
everything's a threat, and
everything's a threat.
Everything's imminent too. All the traveling that happens is intentional. In Z, it's not people just flying around because it's this person has to let this person know because this person has to let this person know. Now there's a new reading and you have to address it.
Yeah,
it's very much like there's the monster. Do you run down the middle of the road or not? You can't do that.
What gets me with
find help.
Yeah, it's this idea that because of your powers, you attract other powers to want to extinguish your power because they want to be the most powerful.
Kind of reminds me of Attack on Titan, if you've seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's anyways, thank you.
But overall, I would give this particular anime 9.5.
You're turning it to Dragon Ball. I mean, I'm going to have to give it a 10 because of my memories growing up.
Yeah, great.
But, definitely it's Toriyama, I got the influence and my enjoyment of it. When I first experienced it, when it was first coming out, both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
I used to remember being excited every time I would come back home from work and home or from school.
Yes. Every day
I'd be like, oh man, we're gonna watch some more Dragon Ball.
Next time on Dragon Ball.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Vegeta looks to the left and looks disappointed. And they kind of
Kakarot.
And they say, "You're not as strong as I thought you were." And next time on Dragon Ball. And then I love the wind sound. These
I know
every fight they always have to represent the wind.
It shows that it's like they're in a remote flight
almost. It kind of reminds me of a Western duel,
I still love the transformation of
Dragon Westerns.
Yeah, but one of the episodes I really do always love in Dragon Ball Z was when Goku goes Super Saiyan 3 for the first time. Yeah. When he's like, and they did like the glass is like shattering. Yeah. It's like, whoa! You know how much damage that guy did?
I mean,
got that powerful.
You know the meme with the first Super Saiyan, right? Destroys his kid, beats him up and stuff. He's completely fine. But don't you dare touch Krillin.
Don't you dare touch Krillin.
If you harm Krillin, that's what's going to put Goku over the edge. Not his own son, but Krillin.
Oh, yeah, that's what drove him to go Super Saiyan, I believe.
Yeah, and he's like, Gohan, get out of here.
He's like, get out of here, son.
Well, he does. He says, go find...
Get out of here.
Yeah. And he's like, Dad, I want to stay. No.
But then when Frieza kills Krillin,
he gets green eyes
over the edge. He's like, that's just too
People are more impressed with the blonde hair. I was more impressed with the green eyes. No one talks about the green eyes. They talk about the yellow hair. Yeah. He somehow got contacts. Well, while he's transforming, he put on some.
But I did like how he played with this idea of like having them remain as Super Saiyans as a form of training. Like they had to.
I like that they could control it. They could turn it on and off a little.
They could turn it on and off, and this idea that they have to constantly keep training. I felt like this was a treadmill. That's one of the things that makes this anime unique in the sense that I always felt like the characters could never relax. They just had to keep working.
There's always another threat. Even the androids are on the way. Everything's on the way.
There's a monster showing up. We're going to have to kill this guy. Yeah. This random person shows up. Hey, we want to kill you too.
I mean, the most they had off was like a month in the summer.
I swear, it's like you're just sitting there and you're like trying to enjoy your life, but at the same time, it's like all these monsters are showing up.
I'm surprised with, even the Navy SEALs, people drop out, right? So like none of the Z fighters could drop out. You didn't have someone who just said, I'm going to become a writer or something.
No,
I'm going to work at the flower shop down the road. You guys have a good time.
People are going to look at you being like, no, you need to keep fighting because we're all going to die if you don't keep fighting.
Dedicate yourself to your job almost to the point of Kuroshi, which is working yourself to death. That's what these Z fighters are doing. And even in death, what do? You train on this little planet and you communicate network with King Kai, and you start watching the fighting go on that you can't participate in. You're still working and training, even in the afterlife.
This is the
thing.
Can't
stop it.
You see, that's the thing that made the Saiyans so great.
No, none of the other humans are there.
Only because the problem is...
The fighters were there to protect the Earth.
Because the Saiyans love fighting. That's in their nature. That's in their blood. They're like, our nature is the fight.
There you go.
And that's... I call it a wrap, but I would give this a 10 out of 10.
Let's do it, 10, yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. I'll mention GT, but I'm not going to give that a 10.
I'm not going to give that a 10, and
Dragon Ball, I don't pretend it exists.
Dragon Ball, I'll give a 9, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, when you go back and rewatch, it's a little different than...
It's more of an adventure.
A very little kid watching it on my small black and white TV.
But overall, this is our review and our honor of our memory of Akira Toriyama.
Yeah.
So I'm your host, Mr. Toad.
I'm Dr. Frog.
You have a wonderful day.
Take care.
Please like and subscribe.
Comment below.